I'm really glad to greet all of you who are watching this video today. I'd like to remind that it is produced within the Media Initiative Partnership in Times of Challenge, European Support to Ukraine. And today we have very special guests who joined us. Let me introduce them and let's start with Ms. Antonella Valmorbida, who is the Secretary General of European Association of Local Democracy, and her colleagues, Cristina Quarzana, who is the representative of ALDA, which stands for European Association for Local Democracy, so representative in Ukraine, and Elisabetta Uroni, the head of communication department of ALDA. Dear guests, thank you very much for joining and for contributing to our initiative. But first of all, I would like to start with my sincere gratitude to all of you and to your organization for really proactive and strong support of Ukraine and Ukrainian municipalities and local democracy in Ukraine. That's really impressive. I have heard a lot of that, and that's actually the topic of our today's meeting. But again, let's start with some short introduction of ALDA, of European Association for Local Democracy. And if you start to Google, we have a very short but accurate interpretation or description of your association. And Google says that ALDA is a European association dedicated to the promotion of good governance and citizens' participation at the local level in Europe and beyond. And let maybe start from this point. What are your main activities, and how do you deal, or how are you interconnected with your Ukrainian partners? Please, you are welcome.
Yes, thank you, Dennis, also for the opportunity to be here with you today. ALDA, since since 30 years now almost, is promoting democracy at the local level. The specificity of our work is that for us, local democracy is the empowerment of both local institutions. So we are empowering the work, the existence, the concept, legal but also pragmatic of local governments. So for us, it's important to have elected local governments, functioning local governments with capacities, funding and representation, and that's why we are also supporting decentralization processes. But on the other hand, for us, local democracy is also strong and representative civil society. So we also have programs to support civil society, civil actions, and making them able to interact and work with local governments. So for us, local democracy is this work. The way we do that is a variety of actions. So democracy is a galaxy of actions. Democracy is not only voting. So for us, democracy means to be full citizens and to be able also with local governments to be able to solve problems. So for us, democracy, and especially at the local level, is not ideology or a pure legal aspect. It's these capacities to solve problems together. And that's why we also tackle local democracy with very pragmatic issues, dealing with 7 thematic hubs. So we work on local democracy and environment, so how local governments are able, with citizens, to address the challenges on environment. We have a thematic hub on youth, so how to interact and valorize the work of youth and to make sure that local policies are tackling with this. We have a thematic hubs on gender and human rights. So this is something, a feature of the European policies. We work on digitalization, so I think that we are at the right place today. So the challenges of digitalization in terms of representation, but also democracy. So Dennis, we work a lot on how digitalization can either promote or hinder and make difficult, sometimes also democracy, with all the influences and difficulties that, especially in Ukraine, we can, but also in Europe, they very much can experience. We work on migration, the challenges of migration today and population traveling. We work on local development. Regarding Ukraine, ALDA has been working in Ukraine since 2012 because we work hand in hand also with the EU policies and the Council of Europe policies. So we have experienced now more than 10 years of activities in Ukraine, back to back with local governments, which are our members, and also regional governments, some of them. We also have one Rayon member of ALDA. And we work a lot with civil society in Ukraine. So we went through a long path, even before 2014, which was like a big bang situation for Ukraine. But we have supported our members. We have now a lot of members, both local governments, as I said, public institutions, and supporting decentralization, which we think was key before the invasion in 2022, but also before. We think that this is a key for peace, but also for development of Ukraine. And also civil society. We are one of the organizations that think that civil society is a must for Ukraine that we all want and that we all see coming. They are part of the change and part of the solution. So for us, we have local democracy agencies. We work with our members. We have today more than 25 members in Ukraine. With a facility which is offered by our organization, because our governing board has offered to Ukrainians to be member of ALDA without membership fees. And this is a big sign from ALDA to support with our services and with our platform, the Ukrainians. So we have members that we are supporting with facilities, trainings, competencies, networking, but also projects. And we also have local democracy agencies, which is what we called our Ukraine flagship. And the local democracy agencies are locally registered institutions, which are working both with local authorities and with civil society and with the support of European partners. Because Ukraine and all these countries which are going in transition, in the case of Ukraine, a transition from war to peace, not only a democratic transition, but in your case, it's from war to peace. The local democracy agencies represent an instrument of social cohesion and peace and connection with the European partners. More to say if you have, if you want to have more details about our actions. At the moment, we have, just to complete, operational already 3 local democracy agencies. One is in Dnipro for the region. Was in Odessa also for the region working with European partners. And that's also very important because I think that I often say that Ukraine will need a long and strong partnership, almost friendship. I think that we know that it's going to be a long and cumbersome process, as it is already now. And when we say whatever it takes till the end, what does that mean? This is the words that the European leaders are expressing. But for us, it's very concrete. It means partnership and friendship, whatever it takes. And we know that it's going to take not only long, but a lot. So friendship means to be there when times are difficult. And we are there with our friendship, with our support. Our members and our partners are supporting the communities involved in the LDAs. We are opening more local democracy agencies based on this concept of partnership, local authorities and civil society and friendship with Kharkiv region. We are going to sign an MOU with the European French partners for the LDA Kharkiv in Strasbourg at the end of this month. And we are signing likely the MOU for the LDA Vinica, local democracy agency, at the end of this month with the support of 2 French partners, but also the Deputación de Barcelona. We are also working for the other local democracy agencies because we think that these local democracy agencies with this civil society and local democracy and local governments approach are a good asset for accompanying at the local level the challenges which are there and will be there.
Okay, thank you very much, and I'm quite sure that it will be very interesting for for our audience to go into details regarding the local democracy agencies. As you mentioned, that's the flagship project of ALDA in Ukraine. And what is the concept? Is it some kind of space where you could just come in and receive some services, or what is behind the concept of such an approach?
Yes, Dennis, indeed, thank you for getting deeper into this. I also think that the local democracy agencies are one of these super ideas that came. It's a Council of Europe piece of work 30 years ago. I've been involved as well. And the idea was promoted by the Council of Europe in the Balkans after the war. And the idea was, let's have a community-to-community approach to accompany with a variety and multiplicity of stakeholders a specific place and area which is going through hard times, basically. So the idea of the local democracy agencies, which actually as a description in the Council of Europe papers, but then that was also further elaborated with ALDA that was created in 1999, is that you have a group of partners. The partners subscribe together a memorandum of understanding where we put in place a series of objectives. And those partners are a local host, which is, in the case of Ukraine, as I said, Dnipro region, Odessa. We also had Mariupol LDA that had to move from Mariupol after the invasion, and we are moving on with other LDAs. So we have a host, which is part of the partnership, usually a local or regional authority. And then we have European partners. So those European partners, in the case, for example, of Odessa LDA, we have the Croatian region, the Istria region, we have an Austrian NGO, which is called Post Europe, and we have a very important Italian region called Friuli Venezia Giulia, but we also have other NGOs because this multiplicity and multi-stakeholder approach is a key for the LDA. So they sign a memorandum of understanding and they say, yes, we want to work for, in the case of the Odessa region, and support them in pieces of work which are described in the MOU, which could be gender support, civil society support. In the case of Odessa, there is also this question of the Danube region support, which is important for them. There is also the post-rehabilitation after war that expressed for us, for example, the Odessa receive a lot of people also from the southern region coming there to find a new life in Odessa. And the partners bring their own expertise, their own also projects, support, and we open an office. So there is a physical place which is usually given at disposal by the host, in this case the Rayon of Odessa, and they have a space in the building of the Rayon, and which is also the regional building. And we recruit with the resources of the partner some local staff with a person which is called delegate, director of the office. Then together we put in place an action plan which is supported by action. So in the case of Mariupol, when we were in Mariupol acting since 2018 until 2022, the LDAs has developed projects for empowerment of civil society together with local civil society, with training capacities, with exchanges of best practices with the partners. In the case of Mariupol, the partner was and is the city of Gdansk. Now Mariupol LDA is working as a team from Kiev, and they are supporting the Mariupol people dispatched throughout the country. We have been working in Mariupol also for urban mobility with the city of Gdansk, supporting the city of Mariupol at that time to have a more cleaner and a more energy efficiency mobility plan. We, of course, for Mariupol worked on environmental issues at that time. The cause for Mariupol was very important. They had a very serious pollution situation in the air. Now we, of course, reoriented our work. So the partners work together to develop specific big and small projects where the partners are involved. And this is what I call also this city-to-city, community-to-community cooperation, because the partners bring their expertise and their program. For example, we are working for bringing people and NGOs to Ukraine. In the case of Odessa, we have organized an event on the Danube region policy where our partners have contributed. So the concept of the local democracy agency creates this framework of partnership and friendship, which is then supported by the partners with trust, with empowerment of civil society and local government with a medium and long-term perspective. For example, I just want to mention that we have at the moment 17 local democracy agencies, out of which 3 are in Ukraine, but we have more LDAs. Many of them are in the Balkans, and we are celebrating 30 years of activities of our local democracy agencies in the Balkans, which is also an interesting connection to Ukraine, also to discuss the potential of the local democracy agencies in the framework of the enlargement process, which are also connected to the challenges of Ukraine in the short and medium term perspective. We have local democracy agency in Moldova, in Georgia, in Armenia, and also in Turkey, but also in the Mediterranean area. So this is a framework program which we hope will help to structure the presence of the member of ALDA and our initiatives in Ukraine. We work on big and small things because I think that we also value, I know that we like big things, of course, but for us, for example, the attention that the city of Gdansk is giving to the LDA Mariupol, which is now based in Kiev, through hosting them for initiatives in Gdansk and helping them to work on 2 issues now. They work on mental rehabilitation of some people from Mariupol with some resources. They help them to host in Gdansk an exhibition, which is organized by our team, called 86 Days in Mariupol, and not only 20 as the Oscar Prize got last year. It was more days of fight there. We are also working on emergency issues because our local democracy agencies in Ukraine have worked in 3 ways. One was emergency. So ALDA is not an emergency organization, but by de facto, by the situation, we have provided emergency help. Shelters, emergency for children, food, heaters, through our members that supported our communities in Ukraine. We have also supported emergencies in Dnipro, in Poltava, by helping the local communities, and we will continue to do so. So ALDA has transformed because of the war in being an emergency support as well. So we are tackling the reality of things. Second, we have worked with voices and advocacy. So we have been talking about Ukraine, and we are going to continue to talk about Ukraine challenges and how it is important to understand the challenges and to be close to Ukraine. So our members organize events in Europe, make the reality visible to European citizens, and let them understand what is the Ukrainian challenge and why it is important to continue the support to Ukraine. So we are close to this challenge, and why Ukraine is a European partner and why Ukraine is Europe. We are also, third ways is specific programs. So each partner is bringing to Ukraine a specific actions regarding youth, regarding empowerment of civil society, empowerment of local governments. For example, for the agenda in Dnipro, we are also working on supporting also local democracy per se. LDA Dnipro has always worked on community and neighborhood actions. So, for example, our colleague Angelika Pilipenko has been instrumental to support the neighborhood councils and the neighborhood support in Dnipro cities, and also to work on the amalgamation of the gramadas in the region of Dnipro. So one is emergency and help. Two is the voice. So both ways, Europe in Ukraine and Ukraine in Europe, via small and big things. Because also you see Denis organizing an event about Ukraine in a small city of France or Spain, or where we have members, or Belgium, is a way to support Ukraine, because people need to understand what is the situation, and so that they will be able to act. And third is to have specific actions where our communities will be helping Ukrainian communities. So those are the three ways we are supporting the country.
That's really very impressive. Thanks a lot for all this work which is done by ALDA and your members. Actually, to finalize the topic of the local democracy agencies, what are the perspectives of such an approach in Ukraine? Are you going to provide further support to the existing ones, or are you going to enlarge the network of such agencies in our country?
Yes, we are. As I said, the flagship promotes the establishment of more local democracy agencies, because we think that this is going to be, and this is a very important instrument. Because, for example, what I often say is that this city-to-city cooperation must be different in two ways. I mean, the more traditional one, which is the city A in Europe helping the city B, more in Ukraine on this town twinning perspective. I think it must be upgraded in two ways, and this is what we do. One is that we often say that we need more than bridges. I mean, those bridges, we need work. Yes, I mean, bridges are okay, but what do you do with the bridges? What do you do? I mean, you have a bridge, but then you need to organize things over the bridge, because the bridge is there to do things. So we need people working, and that's why the LDA concept make people working. We have a staff there, we have people connected, and we need the municipality, in Ukraine, like in Vinica, being helped to work with the Europeans, and the other way around. So we need not only bridges, but we need work. And that's a concept that the LDA will work on. So what do we do with this partnership? And we put a lot of effort to support this. The other element, which is also the added value, it's not only bridges, but more work. It's this concept of the multi-stakeholders. So it's not only city to city. It's not mayor to mayor, but it's community to community, because this community approach will be very important, is very important everywhere. So community is democracy. It's not only the political leaders, but with whom do they interact? We interact with university, they interact with the civil society, they interact with the private sector. So the success of a city is not only a super good mayor, which helps, but it's a super good community which is going to be working together. And we have examples in Ukraine of this. Yeah, we know we have examples the same in Europe, and bad and good ones. So we think that the LDAs are going to be important. And I think that, yes, of course, we are going to invest. Yes, of course, we are going to continue our flagship. We are recruiting people. We want to have more LDAs in the pipelines. We aim at having a more articulated work in Ukraine. I think that also we are going to shape our presence, our projects in several ways, because Ukraine is going to, as we know, an extreme situation, which is war, not war. So you have territories at war and territories which are not at war in a way. Of course, we know that. And we saw last week how we can have dead people by rockets in Lviv, which is considered the quiet place of Ukraine. We had a friend of ours who died there because of this. So there is war everywhere, but there is a different kind of impact of the war. So we will shape this as well, because Ukraine is not only a country at war, but this is a country which is fighting with development, with transformative elements, with economy, with the demography issues. So we want also to support, for example, the return of Ukrainians to Ukraine. We have the decent return, not only bringing them back, like cows, but bringing them back for a reason, with a job, with a perspective, with a plan for the country. So I think that with the LDAs, we will be able to accompany also those places which are war, not war, and also with different needs, because one thing that we know, and there will be also deoccupied areas. There is a part of Ukraine that will need to deal with this. So I think that our LDAs, with this community approach, will be able also to tackle areas that will be very difficult. We are talking about East, we are talking about Kherson, we are talking about future of the Donbass areas, occupied, not occupied. LDAs are instruments for community development. Local democracy is about this. And whatever we decide in Brussels, we will need to tackle the issues of what do we do in the Donbass areas, in these areas, in Kharkiv as well. In Kharkiv, these places in the north of Ukraine, which is at the border with Russia and with the border of occupied areas. So we want to tackle this because that is going to be a map for peace, and a map not only for peace now, but peace will need to be built. You have the peace. We know that from the Balkans. You have a Dayton agreement, so there is peace. Bad or good, we don't know, but peace. There is no more shooting. But then you need to build peace. So you need to build a successful Ukraine. Peace is very important, but then you need a community approach to build a successful country, which is economy, which is trust, which is belonging, sense of belonging, and the other thing, Dennis, which I want to say about differentiation. LDAs are not a modular thing, are differentiated, because something that Europeans struggle to understand, I often say, is how Ukraine is big. They don't understand how Ukraine is big, because we live in small countries, as a matter of fact. And many of European countries are like, a corner of what is Ukraine, a small corner. So Ukraine is big and different. All Ukrainians, but very big difference. Also, not only for language, which has been a big, excuse for many things, but very different. You know, you have the south, you have the north, we have the border with Russia, the border with Poland. Economically speaking, the very strong Donbass, the more, you know, rural areas. I mean, the Donbass industrial, etc. Different. So that's why I think that another key issue is differentiation in our action. And we need to understand the place. That's why LDAs have specific, not modular, but tailor-made action for each place, because each place is different and needs something else. So I like LDAs, I like local democracy, because we are able to tackle all these challenges, because the solution is not simple messages, it's complex messages. And I mean, we would like to have a simple instrument, but there is no simple answer. Simple answer is authoritarianism and what we know, you know, terrible messages. But complex answers, which are dealt one by one LDA by LDA. So one partnership, one instrument, one project, tackling with this community approach, which is developing economy, developing trust, developing local authorities, tackling also, you know, good governance. Of course, good governance, you know, fighting corruptions, fighting, which I think it's an important issue in Ukraine, like in many other places, I would say. See what I mean? This is not a Ukraine feature. It's a difficult problem everywhere. So that's why I think that there is a lot of things to do, and I'm very confident that we will be there for a while.
Yeah, that's true. Thanks a lot for providing the details on the perspectives of your activities. And you also mentioned that there are 25 members, as far as I understand, 25 municipalities in Ukraine, which are the members of your network, of your association. And what is the way to join ALDA? What Ukrainian municipalities, and there are a lot of them, who would like to participate in such activities and to join the international, the European network? What, in this case, what these municipalities should do, and how should they contact you or your colleagues in order to join the network?
Yes, we have local authorities, quite a few, and we also have NGOs. So in order to join ALDA, in our website is called Become Member of ALDA. There is a form to complete, together with a request of membership and an explanation of why you want to be part of ALDA. So ALDA is also, you know, you need to explain this concept of local democracy and why do you think this is important and how you are already articulating this. So showing that you care. So the municipalities that are members of ALDA express some examples and explain to us how they are going to do that. Then if the paperwork is okay, our governing board is interviewing the candidate. That should, in a short way, express. Of course, we also have like a sort of internal check. We have a team in Ukraine, so there is like, who are these people? Question. And if everything goes well, you become member of ALDA because of this process. And then we have our team. We have a team in Ukraine. Working with our members and mobilizing them. We will have a members meeting in Ukraine next October, on the 16th and 17th of October in Kiev. We are going to gather our members. And we also have a membership team globally for ALDA, because ALDA has more than 300 members. And we have colleagues working on this. So that's the process. And then, of course, for this moment, the membership is free because of the dedication that our governing board expressed to Ukraine and to make sure that they receive this specific attention. We have a governing board member in ALDA from Ukraine, elected. It's Irina Volkova. She represents the rayon of Odessa. And so Irina is, in a way, like the governing board, giving the guidance, political guidance, and not only to the organization. So that's the way to become member of ALDA.
Okay, thank you very much for this explanation. I'm quite sure that there will be quite some municipalities, the local authorities, which would like to join such a team, such a network. And unfortunately, we are out of time of our interview. Yes, from my side, I would like to speak more and more on the issues of the development of local democracy in Europe and in Ukraine in particular. But in order to finalize our communication today, our interview today, I would like you to make a short message to our audience regarding maybe the support of Ukrainian municipalities, local democracy in Ukraine. Please, you're welcome.
Well, the message is certainly this one. I think that if we think that this community approach, which I underlined several times in this interview, is key for now and for the future, and must be considered as a feature of any peace development or development as a whole for Ukraine. So if you are in Europe, approach us so that we can actually orient you to connect with other Ukrainian communities. If you are Ukrainian, make a thought about this and be committed in your own community. Local governments are key, so be connected and be engaged with your local government and at the local level. I think that this is the message, be connected with your own communities, both in Ukraine and in Europe if you want to be involved. This is a fantastic journey, which gives you faith in humankind, because in these terrible moments where it seems that, especially for you, dear friends, life is difficult, I think that this local community approach, where people are committed and working together to solve communities and this community level small things, gives you, you meet fantastic people, you meet fantastic mayors, you meet and you work with fantastic civil society actors. So community approach is the key of our work and probably the future of democracy.